This is Bernard Rose from Trailers from Hell. We're now going to look at the 1925 original version of The Phantom of the Opera, starring Lon Chaney. This was made at Universal Studios, and even to this day, if you take the tram tour, they'll point out which stage it was shot in, because essentially the company was teetering on the verge of bankruptcy until Carl Laemmle made this film, and it made Universal into a very successful company at the time. And it also made them the kind of home of horror in that sense, and it kind of set off the whole horror cycle that then happened at Universal. Considering its influence, I mean, essentially the Lloyd Webber musical is a musical version of this film. Certainly visually it's very influenced by it. The masked ball sequence in this film, which was originally shot in 2-strip Technicolor, is almost identical in its wardrobe to the masked ball sequence in the stage show. Just the costume, the atmosphere, a lot of the details in the Lloyd Webber musical are taken from this film. And all subsequent versions of The Phantom of the Opera are, to some degree, a reaction to the Lon Chaney version. So it's kind of a surprise when you see the movie how utterly leaden and lame it is, with the exception of Chaney's performance, which as usual is magnificent, and his makeup is fantastic. And of course in this trailer they don't show you either of those things because that was what they were selling. Apart from that, the film is kind of creaky. The original screenplay was much longer, much closer to the novel, which is also creaky. The novel is kind of, in some ways, a bad version of Poe story, The Murders in the Rue Morgue, to some degree. There was a lot cut out of it. There was a lot they shot that never made it to the screen, and you can see why, because it kind of moves in fits and starts. And it's interesting when you compare it with what Lloyd Webber did with the stage shows, that he overcame some of the dramatic problems, but not all of them. In that Lloyd Webber turned the story into a kind of triangle between the girl Christine, the Phantom, and her father, and all that kind of psychological stuff is kind of missing from the original film, partly because the girl who plays Christine is quite weak. And of course, for a film about opera being silent, it has the problem of having no music in it, and you know, it's why it's a good subject for a musical. You do need singing in it. This being said, I do love Lon Chaney, and I love his performance, and he does have all the pathos and all the poignancy of the character of the Phantom. But compared to the films that he made with Todd Browning in this era, Unknown, or The Unholy Three, or, you know, West of Zanzibar, all those films that Chaney made, which are completely remarkable, especially Unknown, which is probably the greatest silent screen performance of all time, with the exception of Emil Jannings in Last Laugh. You know, it's not quite there, but you know what? Anything with Chaney in it has got to be worth watching.